Welcome to Realms Beyond, your best destination for learning about the art world past, present, and future. We invite you to stay to the end of this video so you can gain a full understanding of our latest topic, the art of the harem. In part 1 of our series, we discussed the history of the mysterious institution that has captivated Western artists for centuries. A harem is a domestic establishment consisting of a man, his wives, or concubines, and their servants. The term is of Arabic origin, and it originally referred to the private quarters of a household. Harems were common in many cultures, including the ancient Middle East, Greece, and Byzantium. In Islamic cultures, harems were used to segregate women from men. Harems were often associated with polygamy, but they could also be monogamous. The ideal of female seclusion was not always realized, and harem women could sometimes participate in public life. In the ancient world, harems were often associated with wealth and power. The kings and emperors of many ancient civilizations had harems, and these harems were often quite large. For example, the harem of the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent is said to have contained over 300 women. Harems also played an important role in the Islamic world. In Islamic law, men are allowed to have up to 4 wives, and harems were a way for men to keep their wives and concubines separate from the outside world. Harems were also a way for men to protect their women from unwanted attention. However, harems were not always places of luxury and privilege. Women in harems were often expected to obey their husbands or masters without question, and they had few rights. In the modern world, harems are much less common than they once were. However, they still exist in some parts of the world, such as Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Harems in the Ottoman Empire were complex and multifaceted institutions. They were places of both privilege and confinement, where women could enjoy wealth and luxury while also being subjected to strict social and religious controls. The harem was also a site of political intrigue and power struggles, as women competed for the favor of the Sultan and his court. One of the most important functions of the harem was to produce heirs to the throne. The Sultan's wives and concubines were carefully selected for their fertility and beauty. If a woman gave birth to a son, she would be elevated in status. In addition to its reproductive function, the harem also served as a place of education and training for the Sultan's daughters and other female members of the royal family. Young women in the harem were taught music, dance, calligraphy, and other skills that would make them desirable marriage partners. They were also instructed in the Islamic religion and Ottoman customs. The harem was a hierarchical institution, with the Sultan's wives at the top and the concubines and servants below them. The Sultan's wives were ranked in order of their importance. The highest ranking were designated as chief consorts. The Sultan's concubines were typically recruited from non-Muslim communities. The harem was a closed world, and women were not allowed to leave without the Sultan's permission. However, there were some exceptions to this rule. For example, the Valide Sultan and the Sultan's daughters were allowed to participate in public events, such as religious festivals and weddings. The harem was also a place of great secrecy. The Sultan's private life was closely guarded, and very little information about the inner workings of the harem was ever made public. This secrecy has contributed to the many myths and misconceptions about the harem that persist to this day. Despite its restrictions, the harem was a place where women could also find power and influence. The Sultan's wives and concubines often had a significant impact on his political decisions. They could also use their wealth and status to benefit their families and friends. In conclusion, the harem in the Ottoman Empire was a complex and multifaceted institution. It was a place of both privilege and confinement, where women could enjoy wealth and luxury while also being subjected to strict social and religious controls. The harem was also a site of political intrigue and power struggles, as women competed for the favor of the Sultan and his court. The harem of the monarchs of the Qajar dynasty, 1785 to 1925, consisted of several thousand people. The harem had a precise internal administration, based on the women's rank. As was customary in Muslim harems, the highest rank of the harem hierarchy was that of the monarch's mother. She had many duties and prerogatives, such as safeguarding the harem valuables, particularly the jewels, which she administered with the help of female secretaries. In contrast to what was common in the Ottoman Empire, where the sultans normally only had slave consorts, the Qajar Shahs also had a custom of diplomatic marriages with free Muslim women, daughters of Qajar dignitaries and princes. Another phenomena of the Qajar harem was that the Shah entered two different kinds of marriages with his harem women. Every consort had white and black slave servants, women or eunuchs, whose number varied according to her status. Some wives had their own residence and stables. There were different types of female officials within the harem. Some managed the royal coffeehouse inside the harem. A body of female sentinels commanded by women officials protected the king's nightly rest. Women masters supervised the group of female dancers and musicians who entertained the harem, and were housed with their servants in a separate compound. Eunuchs were mainly African slaves. The women of the harem were responsible for everything inside the harem quarters, but the harem was guarded from the other parts of the palace by the eunuchs, who together with the visits from relatives, physicians and tailors served as links to the outside world for the women, but the women were not allowed to leave the harem themselves. The harem women had daily entertainments such as music, dance, theatrical performances and games. They studied the arts, calligraphy and poetry, and entertained themselves and the Shah with music, dance and singing, and by reciting verses and telling stories, which the Shah enjoyed at bedtime. The harem had its own theater where passion plays were performed, and one of the Shah's wives was the custodian of all the paraphernalia. The Qajar harem also had the political influence and intrigues common in royal harems. Until a regulated succession order to the throne was established, the harem was a place of intense struggle by mothers of potential heirs to have their own sons elected to the throne, as well as material benefits for themselves, higher ranks for members of their own families, or precedence for their own children. Both Persian policymakers as well as foreign diplomats, therefore, sought support within the royal harem. If you're enjoying the content so far, I would really appreciate it if you could take a moment to subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we upload new videos, and you'll never miss out. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. It really helps out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. And if you think this video would be helpful or entertaining for someone else, please share it with them. Finally, make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Hitting the bell ensures that you'll always be notified when we upload new content. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.